Okay. Hi, this is Sundeep Mohindru, promoter from Mind Solutions, which is running a company called, a brand is called M1xchange.
So I saw that you're from DPS Arkepuram, is it?
Mathura Road.
Mathura Road. Okay. So you are a Delhiite, like you grew up in Delhi. What? Give me a little bit of
All
your
through in
origin
Delhi.
story. What did your
All through in
parents
Delhi, born,
do?
brought up in Delhi. Parents, father is from Pakistan, who shifted as a part of the partition, and thereafter all through in Delhi. So studied
And
at
what did
BPS.
he do? Was he
He
also in
was
business? Or?
into when he came from Pakistan, he was in the middle of his studies, so he had to leave the studies and come. And then he started a business in Delhi for books. So he ran a book retail shop and a wholesale shop at the Delhi University.
Oh,
That was his
okay. Interesting. Interesting.
yeah.
And what made you choose CA as a career?
No, so if you ask me broadly, in our days, it used to be either a CA or an engineer or a doctor. Only three professions used to be there, and जो कुछ so first you eliminate sciences. उसके बाद जो बचता है वो सीए ही बचता है और सीए के बाद तो सीए के बाद एमबीए बचता है या प्रॉब्लली पहले एमबीए एलिमिनेट होता है फिर सीए बचता है so it's been through a round of elimination and finally you land up into something, then you start enjoying it.
Okay, okay. Did you look for a job or like just take me through your career path before you started Mind?
Yeah, so immediately after CA, I worked for about 6 months, but somehow I've always been more attracted towards the running a enterprise or my own business. So the heart was always towards setting up and keep looking for thoughts and ideas for looking for starting something on my own. So after 6 months of job, I got an opportunity to work for on an assignment, and that's when I branched out, took a leave for about for 6 months, and started that. And from there on, then the journey started on the entrepreneurship.
And what was that first assignment which you got?
I got the first assignment to work for Pepsi Foods. In those days, Pepsi used to be the only multinational in India. Maybe one of the first
Which year
fewer
is this?
multinational. This was 1998, 97, you can say.
Okay.
Okay. And Pepsi used to be the first few. And I came across the financial controller of Pepsi who gave me an assignment to review the Pepsi Foods business, which was, I mean, other than the main drink business, was the Pepsi food business. And I started on that assignment. And then fortunately, there was no looking back. I kept getting into from one assignment to another.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Pepsi as your first client, I'm sure that automatically builds credibility, gives you more such reputed brands as clients.
Yes, yes, you're right. And as the luck would have had it, uh, uh, in the first year of my assignment itself, the same financial controller of Pepsi, in one of the reports, didn't like my report, and he kind of told me to stop the assignment. And Pepsi was like God to me in those days, and so I was very upset. And having said that, because you asked for DPS Mathura Road, and the evening was the ex-Dipsites dinner, the same day evening. And I just went for that dinner, though I was not very happy with myself. And what I see is the same gentleman standing on the DPS gate and welcoming people as a part of the ex-Dipsite Association head. And so again, I would say the dots were connected by the God again, that, we again shook hands, and he was in a bitter mood at that time and called
Oh,
me
wow.
back the next day morning. So the journey started again.
Okay, okay, okay. Amazing. So you started a CA firm. I assume you would have like brought on partners, built a team, stuff like that. How many years was that journey for? How big did it scale to? What was the focus areas? Was it an audit practice focused, or what was it like?
Yeah. So actually, I started the CA practice, and in those days, companies and enterprises and the outsourcing business was not so much thought through. I ran this for about 5 years as a CA practice, and brought in one partner and some senior employees as CAs, and the focus was tax and consulting. So this was the focus area, and I personally, I myself, was kind of attracted towards taxation as a subject of choice, and so therefore I was practicing that. And some industries I started specializing in over a period of time. One of them was the textile industry in terms of designers and the clothing, and so I started getting. I almost had all the brands of India. I was advising them for smaller brands in those days, and
Like Madura Garments and these kind of.
yeah, more like designer brands. Okay,
Okay.
so likes of maybe if you're asking me to take
Very.
names, so Rajesh Pratap uh, and Rohit Gandhi, all those designer brands I
Okay.
was helping them
Okay.
with. And these were small fledgling entrepreneurs themselves who had come up in those days, and they were probably, you can say, my age bracket. And then through a friend, I came across, besides Pepsi, I came across another organization called General Motors, who had just come into India, and they were not having finance team on their roles. They only had expats in India, and I met one of the expats, and I was tasked to run the accounting function for General Motors as an outsourced CA
Wow.
firm.
Okay.
And touch wood, we did decently well for them. And from General Motors, we went to a company. They had a subsidiary called Delphi Automotive. They had a subsidiary called EDS. They had a subsidiary called AT Kearney. All these companies came into India one after another, and that's when our journey of outsourcing started. And we set up a company called Mind Integrated Solutions in 2002. So we converted our CA practice into a corporate enterprise, and this started growing faster than the consulting business as an outsourcing business. And in those days, Genpact was flourishing. So there was a lot of learning one could take what Genpact was doing, but Genpact was doing more global. We were all in all focused on the companies which were coming in India. So our life got busy with serving these auto giants who were coming in into India in those days, and followed by the next wave of growth in India was the telecom sector. And
Right.
I got a lot of outsourcing assignments from the telecom. I mean, every telecom company that you can think of in India was our client. And there was a time when 8 to 10 licenses were issued, and we were running accounting teams for almost 7 of them.
Wow.
Okay, so that's how the growth journey has been. God has been very kind. The industry has been kind. We've been doing well, and all through. And accounts
This
payable.
this
Yeah,
service
go
which
ahead.
you were offering of outsourced accounting, this was a like you hire people on your payrolls and place them in client locations kind of an offering, or
Yes.
the data would come to you and then
Yeah.
there would be a like a office where you have a lot of people managing multiple clients and like that kind of a.
Yeah, I don't know, but very good question, Akshay. And I believe you are from this trade, so you probably know this equally well now. Yes. So initially, it started more like outsourcing manpower. I mean, I'm talking about the days of '96 to '99, when you had to just base the body, and they would do the accounting in the client side, and people wanted people to come to their office. Nobody wanted that the work goes outside their office, and internet was not such a big thing that you could transition the data so easily.
Yeah, everything was
Uh,
paper. There was no digital
Paper,
records.
yeah, right. Only computer was used for more for data entry rather than anything else.
Mm.
Subsequently, we also matured over a period of time. We also learned the best practices that we started working with the client that can we transition the work to our office, even though it is manual, even though it is physical. Papers used to travel. That means the invoices and the agreements would travel, but can we do it from our office? Very few of them used to allow it, but they started doing it. And now and thereafter in 2007, 8, 9, we reached a stage where everything used to be done from our office. So we had to set up bigger infrastructure. We had to set up bigger offices in this journey because people had started sitting in our offices. And internet became more prominent in India, and you could transition the data easily, and so servers could be accessed from anywhere, and that's when all this journey happened.
Okay.
And like I
So
was saying,
by
in the
2010, it was like a KPO kind of
yes,
a
yes,
setup.
yes, yes,
Okay.
it was like a KPO, and uh, all the all the challenges that the client used to face, we had started facing on our table. And I used to see that accounts payable was one of the key functions which we were doing for many corporates, and the vendors who had to be paid, they used to follow up for payments. And like I was saying, telecom was one of the main industry we were serving. So we were serving vendors across India because telecom operates in circles. Each circle has a state, is like a state. So we had to work in vernacular language of each state. We had to serve the vendors payments in those states, and we saw the pain that vendors were going through for following up for their payments. And that's when the concept of M1, which is TReDS, came out in the newspaper as a write-up about how a digital system can change the way of payment for the SMEs. And it's just a coincidence that I read about that write up and I liked it. And this was in 2015. And it said RBI is inviting organizations to submit their quote or a tender or whatever you may call it for running this kind of a platform. And there was no, in those days in 2015, digital, fintech, all these words were not there. So it was, for me, it was like a technology service provider who has to run this. And I like the idea of what I read in that article. And however, article was very technical also from a financial world side. I mean, it used the word factoring, it used the word receivable discounting, which again in India in those days was factoring was something was not practiced too much in those days. So I had to do some bit of research at my end to fully correlate with what the article was saying, and but I started loving the concept, and I kind of fell in love with it, and then we were almost a 700, 800 people team at that time, maybe 1,000
Wow.
people team at that time.
What top
And
line?
that time we were uh, about 200 crore kind of an organization
Okay. And
per
Gurgaon
annum
based.
in Gurgaon.
Okay.
And so I collected, I kind of took out one person, senior person from the system, and I said, okay, I and you work together to pitch this to RBI against this concept, and let's make a proposition to them. And then he and I worked together to apply and make a pitch, and we were fortunate again. God has been kind that we were called for a presentation by RBI, and when we reached for the presentation, the number of participants were arranged in a chronological order. We got to know that 20 people had applied, out of which 8 were shortlisted, and we were one amongst the 8. And because it was in a chronological order, so starting from A, the first name was Axis Bank,
Oh wow.
and then so on and so forth, and then we were Mind Solutions, so R was M, and then followed by before us was Sidvi, which is S. So when I read Axis Bank and Sidvi, so I kind of sitting in the reception area waiting for my turn, I was like, I've come to a wrong place, because how can you pitch against Axis Bank and Sidvi for something which RBI is asking for? So, but nevertheless, since I was already in the corridor, so I had to complete the process. When I entered the RBI room for the presentation, it was a huge room, in the sense it was like a hall, and the people were sitting in a U-shaped table, and there must be not less than, if I'm not exaggerating, may not be less than 40 people in that room,
Oh wow. And
and
the
we were
RBI
making.
governor was also there.
No, governor was not there.
Okay.
And but it had people from every kind of department. Now I can today correlate that RBI has multiple departments, so they must have called X number of people from each department. So there were large number of people in the room. And when the questions were coming, one could not correlate, okay, which person is speaking. It was that kind of population there.
Right.
And so I gave the responses whatever best I could, whatever best I knew. Now in this process, in this journey, one good thing which is happening with us is that just a year before, that is in 2014, we had taken up funding for our domestic outsourcing business from SIDBI VC Fund. And 2015, when I read about this article, so I updated SIDBI VC Fund about this, and I expressed my desire to apply for this, and they were forthcoming. So I had requested, so when RBI had asked for the list of shareholders, so in our cap table, it was the promoter and the SIDBI. So that was probably one of the welcome or a confidence building step with the RBI.
Right.
And subsequently, there was a second round of an interview, and in that round of an interview, I also requested SIDBI VC Fund senior person to join me, and he could give the confidence to RBI that they were okay with our kind of work, what we were doing, and so which gave a confidence to RBI, and this was a part of the selection journey that we went through. And but yes, I was utterly surprised when I saw Axis Bank and SIDBI, and then we were pitching. So you can say my lack of ignorance for this application, which kind of took me through this. If I had known how big is the elephant, I would have been afraid to enter the room.
Right. Amazing. I want to zoom in on a few of the things you spoke about to understand them a little better. First of all, can you define what is TReDS? You saw a newspaper article about TReDS, and you said M1. What is M1? What is TReDS?
Right. So TReDS is a trade name given by RBI to a platform called which is called TReDS, and it is Trade Receivable Discounting System. So it's a full form. T is trade, and R receivables, electronic discounting system. So that is TReDS. And the article was about this, that how should a country like India, which has so many MSMEs, their receivables are a pain, and they collecting them is a challenge for them, and there are delayed payments in India. So that challenge can be solved using TReDS, wherein their receivables can be discounted by the banks, and it will be a bidding process, and it will be done by the bank basis the risk profile of the customer of the SME on whom the bill has been raised. So the TReDS was this concept, and it has to be done digitally because you're covering all India, and so the article was more about that, and then how can it help, and etc. etc. And now M1xchange. Yeah, so M1xchange is the name of the entity, which is our entity. And when we applied for a license, the company is called M1xchange. So the license is a TReDS license. So like a license is given for a bank. So this was a license given to set up TReDS. or a license is given to set up, let's say, payment aggregator or any wallet. So the TReDS is also a license given by RBI, and M1xchange is one of the licensee who runs it.
Okay, understood. I will just simplify this a little for our listeners. So if I, for example, run a recruitment business and I did a recruitment service for a company, uh, let's say for Maruti, I did a recruitment service. So Maruti has to pay me for that recruitment service. Let's say they have to pay me 1 lakh. So using TReDS, I can, instead of waiting for Maruti to pay me, get that money today, but I will not get 1 lakh. There will be some discount on it. I'll get maybe 95,000. The person who is giving me this 95,000 is a bank who has bid for this. So I will receive a number of bids, maybe 93, 94, 95. Then I can choose one bid. Am I right in this?
You're very right. And I'll just add on 1 or 2 points on this. Maruti is a very good case. So Maruti will not default on its payment. However, there are various enterprises in India who may not repay on time. So let's say if you've done a recruitment for an enterprise, which is a smaller enterprise, and the payment has to be done to you in 60 days, and you get your invoice discounted, and now the customer has to pay on the 60th day, and suppose he delays it. He pays on the 90th day, then there is an interest cost for that additional 30 days. Now, in the concept of TReDS, the interest cost is not to be borne by you as a recruiter. It has to be borne by your customer who has not paid on the 60th day, though he committed to pay on 60th day. So it has to be borne by him. And in case he defaults even on the 90th day and he doesn't pay, then the recovery from that customer will be made by the bank directly and not disturb you. So there is no recourse on you. The bank will go only after your customer. So therefore, it de-risks your business. That's the most beautiful part. And the second part is that the bank is taking, like we said, the bank is taking a risk all on your customer. Now, if the customer is always, for an MSME, the enterprise customer may always be a larger customer or better customer than his own enterprise in terms of the credit profile. So if that be the case, then the cost of interest will always be basis the risk profile of the customer, which will be lower than the MSME's own cost, which is the second beautiful part. So if the MSME is borrowing normally at 12%, 18% on his own between that band, whereas his customer is the largest customer, so his cost will be 8, 9%. So the MSME will be financed at 8, 9% and not at 12%. So it saves him the money. The cost of doing business comes down very, very dramatically. And the third beautiful part is that it is not tied to any specific bank. All the banks in the country. So today on the M1, we have 60 banks and NBFC. Now, anybody, so if somebody, like in your example, if somebody likes Maruti, then so that's SBI and HSBC and Canara Bank and any other bank would come forward and offer their price. Now, like you said, the SME can select which bank is offering the best price for invoice number 1. For his invoice number 2, the second bank may be offering a better price on that day. So he's not tied up to any specific bank. He can choose any bank he wishes. So he doesn't have to sign any agreement with any bank. He signs an agreement of onboarding with M1xchange once and he gets access to 60 banks. So therefore, this product becomes highly scalable. It's not one-on-one relationship. It's a network of 60 banks to thousands of HMEs. And similarly, an SME can get it done for Maruti or for Mahindras or for Tatas or for Ashok Leyland of the world without getting into an agreement with each one of them separately. So therefore, it is democratizing. You are picking your receivable financing from which bank for which customer. By one-time onboarding, by one-time registration, KYC, you get access to the whole ecosystem of India. So that's the beautiful part.
Amazing. There would probably be some friction here which I'm wondering how that got solved. I will come to that. But before that, I had another question. You spoke of the word factoring. Factoring is the same thing as receivable discounting.
Yes. So factoring and receivable discounting is the same thing. Factoring is a more technical word, and what basically when you sell your receivables under the factoring, then the financier who's buying the receivables is becoming the owner of the receivables, and that's how the risk is getting transferred.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not a loan or a borrowing; it's selling your receivables. So
Okay.
that is why it is called factoring.
Okay. Understood. So supply chain financing can happen in two ways. It can be with factoring or without factoring.
Without
When
factoring,
it's with factoring, then it means the owner of the receivable is getting clean cash, no strings attached. Now it is the person who has bought the receivable to figure out how to get paid. When it is without factoring, then the person who's giving the receivable owner some money will still have some recourse to whatever ways and means to take his help or whatever to get paid.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so, as I told you, I was wondering about some friction points here and how they got solved. What would be the incentive for a corporate to come on this platform?
Yeah,
Because in a way, it facing a small vendor who is chasing you for payment versus facing a bank which has a legal team which can send you a legal notice and is after you for payment. They would obviously prefer to face a small vendor than a bank. So, what is in it to get them on the platform?
absolutely. And that was the struggle we had to go through for the first 2 to 3 years. And over a period of time, we realized that this is a very well laid out commercial model from a perspective that, like I said, the cost of doing business for the SME is reducing from as high as 18% to 8%. That means if he's financing an invoice or business worth, let's say, 10 crores in a year, on 10 crores, he's saving 10% per annum. Now, that saving is actually a saving because of the goodwill of his customer. And that is the saving which he then passes on to his customer for coming on the platform and approving his invoice. And that has become a norm now, a normal thing in India as a part of the trade. That if I am enabling you early payments, it will reduce your cost, and in turn, my cost should come down. And now it's established fact that every corporate who is enabling its vendors worth 100 crores in a month. Now, a corporate entity would have purchases. If it's 1,000 crore organization or a 2,000 crore organization, they will have purchases worth at least 100 crores in a month. And if they discount those invoices, enable them to discount on TReDS, and there is a saving of at least 5 to 10% per annum on those invoices. So it's a 1 crore savings that is coming on the table, and it is win-win for both seller and buyer to entertain it. In any case, the seller is a ultimate winner because he's getting cash in hand quickly. But if the cost of doing business is coming down for a buyer, I mean, he starts loving it. And now the tables are turned. Earlier, I had to go and sell the product to the corporates and convince them that they will save this money. Now we've reached the stage where from every industry, we have at least 5 or 6 large enterprises doing this. And the word is spreading amongst the industry that if they can do it, why can't we do it, kind of a thing. So it is through that good references now that people are wanting to do more and more of this because they are saving themselves.
Okay, interesting. So, possibly today, a vendor who's doing a price negotiation would tell them that I can give you a lower price if you are willing to come on TReDS.
You're very right. You're very
Right,
right.
right. Like I
Now,
remember when buying
in fact,
products, if you paid cash, you would get a better rate than using a card. So it's somewhat similar.
yes. And in fact, now it's the purchase team of the corporate which is telling the vendor, if you come on, get your invoice discounted, you may want to consider this. So they bring that proposition on the table, even if the vendor doesn't know.
Okay. And they tell the vendor that we expect some discount in exchange. Like there's some sort of a soft understanding, I'm assuming.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Interesting. Uh, the the validation of data also sounds like a point of friction. Like if there are hundreds of vendors uploading hundreds of invoices, probably it'll be much larger numbers, and then each of those invoices has to be validated by the corporate. How does that happen? Is there a way in which that friction has been removed?
Yeah. So, Akshay, over a period of time, we have now mastered the art of integration with the corporate. Within 4 to 5 weeks, we integrate with the corporate ERP system. And now we don't disturb the corporate to come on the system and approve it. We pick up the approval right from the ERP system. Whatever is the invoice value they have taken in booked in the ERP as a liability, that becomes the approved amount. And so much so that we also update the ERP system with an accounting journal that this invoice has been paid by us. So they don't pay it out. And on the due date, when we collect the payment from the corporate, we also update their accounting system that they have paid it now. So end to end, we have integrated with the corporates, and we don't ask them to do anything manually now.
Okay, wow, amazing. Uh, what if the product supplied was not of quality expected or something like that? And again, if you take the recruitment example, typically if the person quits the job within a certain period, then that invoice is typically not paid up. So those kind of frictions, what happens there?
Yeah. No, no. It's so the regulations are very clear that this has to be an undisputed invoice. So if there is any dispute between the buyer and seller, they have to settle first between themselves. And once the buyer is convinced that all quality checks are done, there is no dispute, then only he should come and approve the invoice. Otherwise, he should not come and approve the invoice. So that's first point. However, there could be exceptions. Like you said, candidate has left after joining. So in those scenarios, if there is any credit note to be given back or discount to be given back to the corporate, then it may be done in that subsequent invoice. That
Okay.
invoice cannot be altered thereafter.
Okay. Understood. Okay. Very clean, elegant system. Very nice. Um, okay. So, what is. There are other platforms also which have something similar, but I don't think they are in TReDS. Is there like a. So, for example, there's Viana Network, which also does bill discounting. There is Credily. I think Viana is an NBFC in itself, but Credily is a marketplace. So, what is the difference here? And is TReDS like only M1xchange, or is TReDS like a, say, like a UPI where there are multiple apps which offer UPI? Just help me understand the lay of the land here. What does this industry look like?
Yeah. So there are no very good question. So there are three TReDS platform like us. So one of them is Axis Bank, and then there is Citi backed TReDS platform also. So the three of us are in the country running this. Now, as far as your point that there are other platforms, oblique NBFCs, oblique marketplaces. Now, all of them are unregulated. As a result, the all the benefits that I talked about. That means we are doing factoring, whereas they are doing supply chain, which is outside the factoring. So the borrowing, it becomes a borrowing in the hands of the MSME. So that's one basic difference that happened. Second, it's a one-on-one relationship, which I was explaining in my concept. So if I am giving services to Maruti or to Mahindra or to Tata Automotive, whereas on Vayana or any other such place, it will be Mahindra's and one bank could be SBI and the vendor. Now, if the vendor is running a program with Honda cars, so then Honda cars may have a program with, let's say, Mitsubishi Bank. So he'll have to go and sign papers with Honda cars and Mitsubishi Bank. So every time he has to go through that process, and it will be dependent on more on Honda cars than on anybody else. So that is the difference between a platform and a marketplace or a network that we are running. So like I said earlier, it is borrowing, it is one-on-one relationship. Number three, the in the because it's a borrowing, if the Honda car or Maruti does not repay or there is a delay, which will not happen in these big names, but there are smaller names also or smaller companies also, then the recourse and the interest cost extra for the extra period will be recovered from these MSMEs. So all that what we have carved out as a product benefit in TReDS M1 will start to fade away. So and the rate of interest will not be anything less than 10 to 11% and could be as high as 18-24% versus a platform where there are hundreds of banks who are bidding uh, on a day-to-day basis. It is more marked to market rate of interest. So our cost of interest is always the lowest. So now over a period of time, what has happened is that any MSME who has a good customer, who has a uh, good rated customer, he will first try and get his discount done on M1. If the customer profile is such that the banks are not coming forward, then he may go for a higher cost option. So normally it is now going in the waterfall like this for anyone who's making a choice.
Essentially, the difference is in factoring, and that makes all the difference for the MSME. And factoring is something which only a blue chip corporate would probably have access to. So if you're not a blue chip corporate, then your vendor will probably need to go to other platforms. Understood. So
Yeah. So I'll just correct you here. One small point, and that was a shortcoming which we were seeing in the early days, or not early days, after 5 years, is that only the blue chip corporates vendors were getting invoices discounted because banks were taking a risk call on these blue chip corporates. We realized and sensed that a lot of businesses we are not able to serve a lot of SMEs who are serving to mid corporates and then to the small corporates. So two, three things thereafter, the regulator has helped and we also work towards it. One is that all the NBFCs have been asked to come and do the factoring. So therefore, now there is a financier for every risk appetite. So therefore, mid corporates are also now getting attended. That's one change. Second is that the trade credit insurance has been allowed on M1 trades, which is just starting. I mean, we are on the verge of starting that trade credit insurance, wherein the banks are taking a credit insurance on the buyer, which is mid market or a small market buyer, and the credit and that insurance will enable to repay the 90% in case the buyer defaults. So that is again going to give a lot of leeway to the banks to start financing low value corporates. The third, what we did is that we realized that these SMEs are buying a lot of goods and services from other SMEs. So you can say tier one is buying from tier two, and we are not able to serve them. But tier one have been on our platform since X number of years, so they have created a lot of legacy for their transactions. So we therefore created a credit analytics engine in 2023 and put it into the RBI sandbox for testing by various banks, that the credit of these tier one SMEs bases their cash flow and not bases their balance sheet strength. And banks came forward, approved it. And today we have reached the stage where we are able to do financing of tier one to tier two. Financing meaning factoring. So therefore we have taken it to a multi-layer of enterprises in the economy. And now whether it is whether the enterprise, whether the customer is either a triple B or a double B or a triple B minus, everyone is getting financing through M1 trades. And like I said, deep tiers, so tier one to
amazing, amazing. Uh, by tier one, tier two, you mean a tier one vendor and a tier two vendor? Like these are both,
Exactly.
but different levels of SMEs. Okay, okay, amazing. What is the scale of the platform as on date? What is the
Yeah.
discounting value of
Right.
discounting
Yes.
done? Or
Yes. As on date, we do on a monthly basis INR 6,000 crore worth of financing every month. So on an
wow,
annual basis, it leads to 72,000 crore worth of financing of the invoices. And actually, people are logging in from 1,800 different cities using mobile phone, using computer, and getting the invoice discounting done. So there are entrepreneurs at times who are logging in from tea gardens in ahead of Coimbatore, or masala companies, suppliers are logging in and getting their invoices discounted. So it's that kind of agri commodity suppliers, rice suppliers, barley suppliers, milk aggregators. So
the solution which you have developed of integrating with the ERP would only work with blue chip corporates, right? For let's say a tier one SME may not have an ERP. So how does that data validation problem get solved as you scale?
right. So then we have integrated with Tally. So
Okay.
Tally is there.
There's been a lot of work on this corporate payment to MSMEs from the government side. A lot of changes. GST itself is one big wave of changes. There is e-invoicing. Can you talk a bit about what all has happened here and how that has influenced the M1xchange platform?
Yeah. Like you're saying, a lot of changes. One of the latest change has been in this March, wherein the government said that there's a Section 43V of the Income Tax Act, wherein government said if you don't pay your MSME within 45 days, and there is a year-end cutoff, then your expenses will be disallowed in this year, but they will be allowed in the year in which you pay the MSME. And this was the first year in which something like this came up. So we had an extraordinary queue of large enterprises queuing up that okay, we route the payments of MSMEs through the M1 threads, and we get to pay later. So we do our compliance. So it has become a compliance tool also. So if you so one of the points which you were asking me is why should a corporate get into it? So one of the points which I said was the commercial point. The second point is the compliance point. It becomes easier for them to complete their compliance. Now, third point, which I have not covered so far, is that regulator, which is RBI, has also allowed us that in case our enterprise wants to route its payments through M1 Trades for regular payments and not get the invoice discounted for any reason, then they can do that also. So therefore, now today we offer to the corporates a solution wherein we are saying that we are connected to your ERP. We take all your invoices and put them on the platform. If the SME wants to get them discounted, very good. Or you want him to get it discounted, very good, because his cost comes down. But for any reason, let's say the bank does not want to discount it, or the SME doesn't want to discount it, we can still route the payment so that they get one way of doing it. They don't have to touch accounting on that at all. They don't have to run payments on that at all. So we become a payment system for the SME invoices, for all the large enterprises, mid enterprises, small enterprises. And so it's becoming a one funnel of that. So it's standardizing their work. So that's another reason now. Like
How is the payment piece of this being automated? Like somebody in the corporate would still need to log on to net banking and do a transaction, or is there a
yeah, yeah,
some
no, no. So I've
friction has
not
been
covered.
removed there?
Yeah, no. Yeah, so I've not covered it so far.
Mm.
So any repayment from a corporate, that means the invoice was discounted on day zero. Now the invoice is due on the 60th day, and the repayment has to be done by the corporate. So what we do is, we are, and that's why we are given a license by RBI under the Settlement Act, Payment and Settlement Act. We are authorized to run a auto debit on the corporate. Okay, so we run a settlement system wherein every day in the evening, using NPCI, We are connected with NPCI. Using NPCI, we run a settlement file wherein each corporate, what amount has to be debited and which bank it has to be repaid to. Okay, so that entire network of payment is run by us late in the evening. So that next day morning, this is triggered by NPCI and the payments get flowed to the respective banks for repayment. So if you look at it from a banker's point of view, his collection is taken care of. He doesn't have to worry about collection. If you look at it from a corporate point of view, they don't have to run any payment leg. Everything is taken care of by us. And in their ERP system, the accounting journal connected with the payment is also posted by us. So for everyone, it's a digital system. And actually, since I'm explaining this side, we are also connected digitally to a body called Sarsai. This is the body where all the loans and all the agreements get registered. If you borrow today from any bank, the bank has to upload the loan agreement in the government portal called Sarsai. So TReDS, we as an enterprise are connected to Sarsai digitally. So every invoice which is getting discounted, bank has to record it into the Sarsai records. We do that for them. And when the repayment happens, then the record has to be updated that it just has been repaid. We update the Sarsai record. So the banks don't have to do anything manually.
Amazing. This is such a powerful tool for like lubricating the flow of money in the economy. You know, the way UPI has done for consumer payments. This is super powerful. Whose brainchild is this? Like, is there a specific architect behind this? A person, a body, or something, or what?
Yeah, this is I would lay a lot of credit to RBI for this. Whose brainchild was this? And there's a section in RBI called DPSI, Department of Payment and Settlement System. So they have carved out the regulations connected with it. And in the initial period, since I'm connected with this platform the early days, early days, day zero actually. So all these processes did not exist that time. Repayment, how will the work? So all this has been crafted out by RBI, and we have been a person in their journey who have, you can say, implemented what they have crafted out, and keep giving them feedback so that they can improve onto it. They can give us ideas how to improve onto it. And
do other countries have something as seamless as India has?
No, very good point, Akshay. As much as we've gone to the Western country, Middle Eastern country, Asian country, none of them has it.
Wow.
So let's say Dubai, and in Dubai, the central bank had asked that what do we need to do all this, run this in our country. And when we carved out that we have a seamless payment flow like this, settlement system like this, they could not, they still don't have it in their country. A company like NPCI who can enable this. If you go to Europe, they don't have something like this. So there are, they may.
Wow, amazing. The role of NPCI is to give you the authority to do direct debit from the bank account of the principal.
No, so the role of NPCI is that actually they do a automated clearing system, which is called National Automated, NACH. So, so we give them a file, they run the clearing, and they move the money to respective people. They don't touch us, or we don't touch the money. They do everything. So that enablement is provided by them.
And there is a one-time consent mechanism, I'm assuming, like a
Yes. So one-time consent mechanism we take from a corporate as a part of the onboarding process.
What is the market share of like M1xchange versus the other two? You said there are 3 TReDS platforms.
Yeah. So we enjoy 33% market share. And in fact, today, all the 3 TReDS platforms in the first 5 years of the journey are at 33% each. Some in some month, someone is 33, someone is 32, in the other month, like someone else is 32, 33. So till date, we're all enjoying.
Amazing, amazing. Uh, I want to understand your journey of, you were running a services business. From that, now today you're running a fintech. Uh, how did you personally learn, navigate, change how you run or how you manage people, or change the DNA? Because these are businesses with very, very different DNA. Are they separate entities now? The mind business, is that a separate entity? Just help me understand your own personal journey as well.
You're very right. Actually, there are two different DNAs in this business. One is what you just said. It's a product business. It's a fintech business. And the second is this is very sales driven business, wherein though it is a B2B, but in B2B, we have to sell to a large enterprise, and then we have to sell to a very small enterprise. And then we have to sell to a bank. So it's a three-way sale and very heavy on sales. And so whether it and on the services business, which I was running earlier, I mean, if you sign one contract, you sign for 5 years, and it's a large contract, so then you fish for another contract probably later. So it was a lot of DNA change. So all that I was not doing, I was to do. None of this I was doing in my earlier avatar. And yes, we carved out a separate company completely. It was first a separate division, and then division got demerged into a company. Technologically, I have always been well connected with the IT development ecosystem, because in my earlier business also, we had developed a lot of technology tools which were used to service the clients. So fortunately, there was a decent experience, and I had a decent team in my erstwhile business that was doing the IT development. So when we branched out into this, so I could take the help of the erstwhile IT folks and expand the team. The second thing was that attracting the talent from the banking community or fraternity. So there were two kinds of talents which had to be brought in. One is the talent which is from the banking background, and the second was the talent which had to come from an IT background. You don't need CAs for this. So because there was an organization running, and recruitment was one such cell in that organization. I took help from some of the senior people in the recruitment side, and to attract some talent from the banking community. And like I said, in those days, TReDS and digital and all this was not a name, so nobody was very willing to come forward like this so easily. However, few people took interest, and they did realize the power of digital, so they did participate from the banking community, and that banking community brought in the flavor of sales. How do they sell in a banking world? The large enterprise, mid enterprise, small enterprise. Then how is South India versus North India versus West India and East India configured on the MSME side? Where to sell more? How to make this a sales-driven culture than a service-driven culture only. So that was the change that the banking fraternity community brought in. The technology was, like I said, because I was running it, so we hired a separate CTO, separate analyst, and separate related folks with this. Now comes the point that there has to be a product culture, which means user experience, which means ease of doing business on the platform, changing the way of or changing the user behavior, motivating him to do business on the platform rather than doing it manually. And that's when, in the last, I would say, 3 years, our culture has emerged more on the product side. That how do we differentiate ourselves in the market, that people feel motivated to do business. And today, more than 22 to 24% of our user base is on the mobile now. So they're using our mobile app. So all the relevant changes have been made in the in the M1 Avatar 1 to Avatar 2 today that we have focused on Avatar 2 on the user experience. So the culture has evolved to the next level. We have a decent product team now internally who focuses day in, day out on simplifying the user experience, make it more digital, faster. Now, onboarding any MSME on the platform is, I mean, we claim that within 10 minutes, we will complete your onboarding. We don't want you to enter more than your PAN number and GST number. Nothing else we want you to input. Everything else we fetch from the other digital sources. Whereas before Corona, that means in pre-2020, it used to be minimum 8 hours job of onboarding one MSME. Now it is 10 minutes job. In 3 years, we have evolved that it is a 10 minutes job to onboard an MSME. So yes, it has been it's been a journey where we have evolved every stage. So stage 0 was when we had to just set up those settlement systems and all those related work that we've just talked about. Stage 2, stage 1, I would say, would be when we had to convince the banks that why should they come on a platform and bid. Banks used to say, I mean, I've never bidded in my life for a business. Why should I come and bid for an SME business? So motivating banks to come and bid for a business, motivating corporates to come on the platform which you asked, why should I come and approve the invoice? So that was all stage 1. And wherein the focus was, okay, digital platform exists. It's just that people have to be motivated commercially that they should come forward and do it. And now the stage 2, which we have now been doing it from since post 2020, wherein everything is digital. Whatever was being done internally, externally, everything is transitioned into speed and user experience. So this has been a grade by grade development, and all of this I've learned through my colleagues. Like I said, I mean, I have not been a techie, I've not been a banker. All the team members who joined in, they brought in their side of the specialization. I had to be open and listen to them and work with them, and they drove me rather than me bringing in any drive to them.
I'm going to zoom in on some of the things you spoke about. You said this is a business which needs like a sales focus. I'm assuming that there are two reasons for this. It would probably be like, say, insurance. Now, insurance is a fairly undifferentiated product. That, I mean, two insurance policies from different companies can be very similar, minor differences. So, is it something like that, that the TReDS platforms are somewhat undifferentiated, and therefore it is a land grab? Whoever onboards more companies first gets to retain them lifelong. And because there is a lot of untapped business which needs to be converted, so this is like the land grab phase, which is why it is important to be sales focused.
One is that. Second is, Akshay, the regulator and the MSME ministry is continuously driving us. We want more. The wallet is much larger in the Indian economy.
What is the potential wallet? Like, you're doing 6,000 crores a month. What is the potential total in India?
Let's say so if we are doing 6,000 crore a month, which leads to a translation of 72,000 crore a year, and assuming we are 33%, so all three TReDS platform also do 70,000 crores a year, that makes it 2 lakh crore a year. The potential is 1,30,000 crore a year. 1,30,000 crore a year. I mean, so it is 1,300 times higher from what we are today. And this I'm basing on the fact that today there are 11,000 companies in India which are investment grade companies. These 11,000 companies, their average size is 1,000 crores. And if I multiply their purchase side of this 1,000 crore, and out of which 40% to 50% is MSME, then you arrive at this kind of number, which is today what we are doing is probably 100th of that, 1,000th of that potential. So looking at that potential, this has to be taken on. Number one. Number two, because we are now engaged in the industry, like I told you, we realized that smaller companies, their vendors were not getting serviced, which were not well rated, or tier one to tier two were not getting serviced. But since we have opened the floodgates by way of solutioning to all of them, whether it's credit insurance, whether it is trade credit analytics, because we've opened the floodgates now, so this volume can be much larger also. And it has to be sales driven because, like you said, land grab and the potential. And
Okay. Okay. Interesting. What is there more stuff you've done to remove friction for banks? Do banks still need to bid each one on its own merit, or is there some automation there through which
yeah,
banks can
yes.
just
So
set
there
and
is,
forget?
right. So what we have inserted now is we made the systems a little more intelligent for the bank. So for a bank, we've given a feature of auto bid, which
Okay.
means if a bank knows Maruti and he's already done 100 transactions on Maruti, then the next time the invoice comes from a Maruti vendor, bank doesn't need to log in. The system can bid on behalf of a bank. So there is an auto bid. Similarly, if the bank has to record the transaction in the evening in their core banking system, whatever business they have done in the morning, A, they have to record, and B, they have to create funding for those transactions next day morning. So we update their core banking system and their relevant funds that they have to create for next day morning automatically. In the early days, or not early days, I would say as old as 2 years ago or 1 year ago, even I would say 1 year ago, banks were doing this manually. We were not giving this service as a part of our technology. Now we have given this to the banks that they do everything through our system, even the recording and even the cash flow management, budget management. And like I said, there's Sarsai recording. Everything is done by us. Now, what has this enabled? This has enabled that earlier banks used to say, okay, I will bid for the invoices with a high value first, and small value I will do only once I get time. Because in the evening, they have to record all that in their system. Now, because we have automated it, now it doesn't matter to a bank if the value of the invoice is 10,000 or 10 lakhs or 10 crores. I mean,
And you would probably also be like there would be account managers who would be nudging banks that you should expand your universe of companies, include more, so that the automation is influencing more invoices which are uploaded, so
absolutely,
reducing more
absolutely.
throughput.
So
Okay.
there are we call it a bidding team, and they interact with the relevant bank team once the bills are available that you have to bid, etc. Now that's another side that we are now on, like you said, friction or user experience. We are working in this year that the system triggers the bank. How can he be interested to bid more?
How quickly are features copied between the three of you? Is it like UPI apps? In UPI apps, it is a matter of like within a month or so, any feature in one app also gets copied in the other app. And
Yeah, yeah.
like, is it as competitive as that, or like?
Okay, so Akshay, like I said, I have, we are the only TReDS platform which runs a large IT company,
Okay.
internal, okay,
Hmm.
versus the other TReDS platforms who have been an offshoot from the banks. And
Ah,
okay,
okay.
so they the earlier
Your
uh,
agility,
cu-
speed of adding features is
so they've been
fast.
using the external IT companies, and everything has its own merits and demerits. And slowly, steadily, they are falling into place where they have to create their own IT teams. Create IT, like you said, culture and user experience and product culture takes time. I have taken 6 years to build to the stage of culture of product and IT. they've started their journey on this side in last few.
I'm assuming because, like, say, Axis Bank would already have the sales DNA in it. That might have been their advantage versus you would have an advantage in product and technology
Yes,
DNA.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. What data do you get from PAN and GST? You said an SME, MSME just has to share these two, and then everything else is automated.
Right. So we are connected through to the income tax, through the ROC, and even through various service providers through GST. So we validate the entire KYC, proof of address, proof of promoter, proof of proprietor, all that we do validate through these golden sources. And now we are reaching a stage where even the invoice can be validated if
Through
it's
GST.
through the QR code, that what is the GST system recording saying, and if it is
Can you talk a bit about this invoice part? This is also again a change in how India does invoicing, the
yeah.
e-invoicing. Can you just explain for people who
So
don't understand
the
what is this QR code on
right,
invoice?
yeah. So in case of an e-invoice,
When is the
the
e-invoice valid?
yeah. So
When do you
e-invoice is
need to
essentially
do an e-invoice?
yeah.
Yeah.
So all organizations who are doing business more than 5 crores in a year have to do e-invoicing using the GST ecosystem. Now, because they're doing e-invoicing, they are creating an invoice on the GST portal, and that invoice has a QR code which has all the details of the invoice, and it is inscribed on the invoice itself. So this year we are doing a structure or a structural change that if you upload an e-invoice on our system, you don't have to do any data entry. We will read the QR code and populate the invoice detail. That is one point. Second point, we will also validate this invoice with the GST records. Now, this is there is a slight friction in it that it is OTP driven as far as validation with the GST records is concerned. So we are engaged with the regulator that if it can be simplified for TReDS and MSMEs. That what is a simpler way of doing it? So then over a period of time, we'll
Why this move towards e-invoicing for 5 crore onwards? Like it's for like enabling trends and other such things, or what is the reason that the government did this?
all right. So e-invoicing, I mean, of course, I mean, TReDS is a very small dot in the government planning. But otherwise, if you ask me, e-invoicing is a revolutionary system within Indian ecosystem because the e-invoice enables the government to know that that the goods are moving through an invoicing based system only and not outside the invoicing based system, which used to be the structure earlier in India. Number one. Number two, the the customer who's on whom the C invoice is raised, he's aware of the GST charged onto him, and he can take a GST credit because the C invoice exists in the GST records. So both the buyer and the seller at the same time can avail their respective credits, and they don't have to file their GST returns again, and I mean all this data again because this data is automatically populated in the GST records of the respective buyer and seller. So this becomes a very good digital ecosystem which the government has created, and complements to them that with a vast land and the number of MSMEs in our the enterprises in our country, they're able to stabilize it that nobody today cribs that because of e-invoicing, my business is getting delayed or my shipment is getting delayed. It's a very fast process, and I haven't seen a crib in the market that e-invoicing system is not working, or the print is not working, or it is not visible today, and server is down today. All that.
And is this again unique to India?
Uh,
Is there also a possibility for trading to happen of invoices? If a bank buys a receivable and it has a receivables book, and can it have trading happen on it when it sells some of them before maturity? Some other bank wants to buy it. If there is a anticipation of an interest rate change because of it, the way, say, a bond market or corporate debt market works. I think India doesn't have a very deep bond market, corporate debt market, right, compared to the West.
Right.
Could this be an alternate corporate debt market in India where people can
Yes.
trade also?
Very good point, Akshay, and compliment that you've touched that point. You could think of that point. Recently, RBI has allowed it. That means secondary trading of the invoices. So if any bank has built in a portfolio and they want to trade in this portfolio with another bank, that is allowed. Right now, they've only allowed between banks and NBFCs. They're not allowed mutual funds or insurance companies to come and do it. So therefore, it may not take the shape as big as bond market, because in the bond market, the fund flow is mostly coming from mutual funds and the insurance companies also. So today they have allowed as a step one that if an NBFC builds a portfolio and they want to send that portfolio to a bank, they could do that. No such initiation of the transaction
Is
has
it
happened.
portfolio only, or individual invoices, receivables also can be traded? Or
Yeah, so portfolio will be a combination of individual invoices. One can do individual invoices also, because this is
okay,
all
you can
digital.
make your own.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can make your own choice, and because it is digital, so it is easy to implement. And
Hmm.
we have already developed the technology for this. So a bank or an NBFC can send it either one invoice or set of invoices. Having said that, now we have to find out a use case, commercial use case of the benefit that is.
And what could be a possible commercial use case for this
The
benefit
first
of
possible
instant
use,
trading?
commercial use case is that if, say, first of all, this is all the business that a bank does on M1 trades is a PSL portfolio, priority sector lending portfolio, which is because
Okay.
this is MSME business.
Hmm.
Right. So if any bank is short on a PSL and NBFC has done that business in, let's say, in now upcoming June quarter, and bank wants to develop a PSL, buy a PSL book, they could do that from this NBFC.
Okay.
Uh, Plus, the NBFC, let's say, would have done financing at 10% on the platform, and if the bank is ready to buy it at 9%, so there is an upside for an NBFC. So NBFC has a motivation to sell, and a bank has its own motivation to buy. Secondly, here it's a credit of a very, very, like you said, one of the in the beginning, of a blue chip corporate. So let's say we have IOCL, BPCL, HPCL, they are vendors on the platform, and the repayment is to be done by these oil majors, and these oil majors are AAA rated. So for a bank, this is equivalent to a AAA rated paper, which is they are getting at a price higher than they would have gotten in a CD market or a bond market for a AAA rated paper, and they would have to do a lot of paperwork to do this. Here it is happening automatically. There it will not be PSL. Here it will be PSL also, along with the credit. So there are many
Possibly they could also be trading based on information, like if there is a change of credit rating of a company, then maybe their invoices become available at a discount, and that kind of the kind of trading which happens in equity based on news and information. I'd like to understand what is the revenue of the businesses today, and before that, like, could you clarify what all businesses are there? Because I was trying to look up. I can see M1xchange and Mind Solutions, but I can also see something known as M1 Next. So, like, what all businesses do you run today?
Right. So essentially, there is Mind Integrated Solutions, which is running as an organization, which is the erstwhile business. Then M1 Exchange
Hmm.
was set up in 2017 as it went go live. And then M1 has set up two subsidiaries. One is M1 Next out of the Gift City in Gujarat for doing whatever is M1 doing in the domestic market and the international market. that has got its approval from a regulator at Gift City called IFSCA, and that has gone live in April 2024. That means last month. And so there is the transactions that started happening. It is, however, we've not started charging the participants as yet. So there, the banks are coming on board, the exporters and importers are coming on board, and the transactions have started. And M1xchange has also set up a subsidiary called Mind FinTech, which is essentially doing supply chain on the distribution side for the large corporates. That means large corporates to dealers and distributors. Okay, so yeah.
Like it is BNPL, buy now pay later for distributors.
And it is like buy now, pay later, but however, it is on the lines of supply chain finance. And these distributors are credit evaluated by our system, and therefore we enable funding from multiple banks, multiple NBFCs. It's not one bank or one NBFC, so it gives that diversity to the distributors.
Okay, and that would not be a factoring.
It also is factoring. It has a mix of factoring and it has a mix of non-factoring also.
Okay. Understood. And I guess there is this company called PropCap in that space, right?
Yeah. So PropCap is one such entity, which is also an NBFC actually.
Right. Okay. Understood. So, how does the M1xchange make money? Is there a
so we charge a fee. So we charge a fee which is percentage linked to the value of the invoice for every transaction, and there's no fixed fee for anybody. So therefore, it's all recurring cost for all the participants, and they just pay a small percentage fee.
Okay. And what is your ARR right now at M1xchange?
This year, the financial year 25, we should be ahead of 100 crore organization.
Okay, amazing. And what is the roadmap here? Like, let's say, what would be the path to become 1,000 crore organization?
Right. So we're growing 100% year on year, fortunately so far. And so at least on a 3-year roadmap, it looks like we should be somewhere near mid of 1,000, that is 500 crore. So 3-year visibility is clear.
Okay.
How do we become 1,000 crore organization? Yes, after 3 years, I will be able to define it more clearly.
Right.
But as of now, 3-year horizon is that we should be a 500 crore organization.
Okay. And Mind Solutions, you had told me, was at a 200 crore top line in 2015. What is that like now?
It is in the range of about 450 crores.
Okay. So as a group, it's about roughly 550, 600 crore top line across.
So as a group today, yes, 500 plus crores today.
Okay. I wanted to understand, you were running a CA firm, and there are so many CAs who run firms and are running the firm for the rest of their lives. There could have been an alternate history in which you are still running a CA firm. What made you reach here, where you are running these two businesses, both of them very large opportunities in their own right? What was it that got you here?
So Akshay, when there are many sides to this answer, but one of the main points is the opportunity that came, and we spotted and we worked on that opportunity, and these opportunities that came our way were more to do with the technology and digital. The underlying theme remains the finance. So I would say there is always a zeal to do something innovative and solving some challenge and innovate. So that zeal kept going forward to do something new, try something new, take a risk. So even the international trade finance, the cross-border trade finance that we've just launched from Gujarat, we understand there is a need in the market. So we have taken a step forward. The connected risk is only that we have to invest some amount for expansion of the current technology. So it's not a zero base. We are not starting from a zero base. So it's a calculated risk one is taking. However, because we are solving a larger challenge, it can turn out to be a bigger result. The effort involved in scaling up, just as an example, in cross border is going to be very large, much larger than the domestic market. And that is what is the excitement all about. Because you will have to put extra effort, you will learn new things by engaging with international bankers, not just domestic bankers. You will engage with international buyers, and as a result, the self expansion, the company expansion in terms of knowledge and experience will be multifold. So like you are sitting in Japan and doing this versus you sitting in India and doing this, it is opening. I mean, it must be opening up your horizons and multifold. So like these kind of opportunities and taking a learning and ready to take a plunge is something that has been our core, and the fact that it gives an enjoyment.
Okay. How will cross-border work? So, for example, let's say Gokuldas is exporting an order of garments to a Walmart, and they are to be paid in 90 days. How would this work then? How
Right.
would?
So the initial way we are starting is that we are approaching through Gokuldas, and we are taking on board Gokuldas. And I mean, every buyer on the other side may not be Walmart, but if the buyer is reasonable size, he may come on the platform and operate in the same way we are operating in the domestic market. Now, let's say 10 such Gokuldas we have onboarded, and we have done these transactions for their buyers. Then is the time we should be approaching their buyers and explaining to them, if we can do it for Gokuldas, we can do it for any company based in Hong Kong or in South Korea or in, let's say, Indonesia, and supplying to you. We could do this for them as well, and as well as for the Indian exporters. And the financing could be done by a fund or a bank based in Singapore or in Frankfurt or in US. So therefore, the buyer, if he sees a value in it, he could bring all his global business for financing on the platform. So that's the ultimate goal. We'll have to take steps, move towards that goal. Right now, it's a very high peak to go. Step by step, we'll hopefully reach somewhere.
Amazing. That vision sounds very admirable. You would initially underwrite Gokuldas or underwrite Walmart, like.
Both. So in some scenarios, Walmart, in some scenarios, Gokuldas. Now that will depend upon if Walmart is ready to come forward on the platform, then obviously it'll be Walmart. If not, then the recourse will be only on Gokuldas in this example. That is one. And there is, in this international cross-border, there is also a lot of play by the insurance companies. So insurance companies will be a larger player rather than in the domestic market. So that is another participant who will make a lot of contribution in this.
Okay. Are there other global platforms similar to this? Like,
Yeah. So the regulator has issued 4 licenses in India. So all of them are just starting or have started about 6 months ago. Somebody started 8 months ago, like this. And so all are trying to establish their feet like we are. And hopefully all will flourish in coming days.
But here you're not competing with only Indian players, right? Is there like a already established global player which does this cross-border bill
Yeah.
discounting?
So, no, good question. So there are global players who are in the cross-border trade. Now, again, it's a difference between M1 and Vienna. M1 is regulated. There is no cross-border player which is regulated today. Okay,
Ah,
globally there is no cross-border player.
right.
No regulator has come forward and blessed a fintech to go cross-border and be a regulated entity. So this is the first time India has taken that stand and done this. So it will be a same scenario that we were discussing, regulated versus unregulated. So over a period of time, same scenario will emerge.
Okay. Can you share with me what are like, some management mantras which help you manage? So you're now soon going to be managing three large opportunities. How do you stay on top of all of this? What are some principles that help you manage all of this effectively? Are you numbers driven? Are you people driven, relationship driven? How do you do it?
Yes. So first and foremost is, I mean, for every line of business, the owner, the focus person is the one who is driving this. So that is the basic mantra. I cannot be the owner or the driver. I mean, there are people who do better job than me in implementation. So they had to be in the driver's seat. So first and foremost is that. The second is that though they may be the owner, though they may be in the driver's seat, one has to make them comfortable and successful in their respective roles. So everything under the sun I can do, uh, one will contribute towards that. And mistakes are to mistake is a human. So if I was in that driver's seat, I would have done mistakes, so they would do also. So one has to be mindful of those points. However, it is easy to say than to follow. I myself may not follow in every situation, but I try my best to follow. So this is on the people side. On the uh, on the management of such people and the situation and the opportunities, very important for me to be able to feel it, to observe it and feel it. Just by being in my office and taking a review, I after a few minutes of a review, I don't do justice to it. So one has to get down to the market and observe and feel it. Only then one can work and make them whatever one can contribute towards their success. So that is another important point, so that one is able to connect the dots, give them full backup or an advice if one can, and contribute in that journey of of he being successful. Number wise, very very important. I mean, anything and everything that one does. Uh, Unless and until the numbers don't come on the screen, I cannot do. One cannot do anything. So I'm not able to contribute much unless and until I'm not kept up to date by the concerned business head with the numbers. So that is very critical to me.
What are the numbers you track? Is it just revenue or are there other metrics?
No, so revenue is of course one part. I mean, more to do with what drives the revenue, which is essentially the sales, which is essentially the acquisition, which is essentially the solutioning, which is what technology and developments are driving that solutioning, what are the needs which are coming from the market, what strategies are we following for that market, what is the brand, how is the brand reflected by the marketing team, uh, and how is the regulatory framework managed, whether it's the regulator himself or whether it is other regulatory framework requirements, uh, and then the investor and the board members, how are they taken care of? So all of this is day to day for me.
Do you actively run Mind Solutions also, or is there like a separate CEO for
No,
that?
there's a separate dedicated promoter team as well as the professional team. So there's a CEO for that business, and he runs.
And what is the focus there? Is it still like accounting services or?
It's mostly accounting and HR services and the platforms. So that company has also developed platforms over a period of time, and those platforms are now getting sold as independent platforms also.
Like
So,
SaaS products.
like SaaS product. So, accounts
Okay.
payable SaaS product, a payroll SaaS product, like this.
Okay. 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 Interesting. So, when you said that you like to get down to the market, like, do you go on sales calls with the sales team or do you visit customers? Or how do you? Okay.
Yeah. No, I love to do sales calls. I love to do visit customers. I love to understand and how is the solution being drafted and crafted for a customer need. I love to get involved in the product meetings. That kind of gives me a lot of innovation kick. Maybe I add value, I don't add value, I don't know, but at least I create a nuisance value in that meeting. And uh, and meeting with the regulator is another. So yes, I. So the short answer is yes. I like to step out for these meetings.
Okay, okay, okay. When you were setting up M1 Next, did you start by first finding a business head for that, or were you the business head and made it reach maturity, and then like how do you build a new business?
Yeah. So mostly a new business was built by me getting involved, putting myself in the shoes for a few months, few weeks, and then finding a business head for it.
Okay,
You're right.
okay, okay. That would help you understand what kind of person you need in that role because you've
Yeah.
played that role then.
Right.
Okay, okay. And any advice on fundraise? You have raised, from what I can make out, about 23.5 million for M1 Exchange, for Mind Solutions, about 20 million. So, any advice on that front on fundraise?
Uh, Advice meaning in the sense that if one is that by engaging in this fundraising activity, you as a promoter and the leadership team in the company, so much of clarity emerges because these fund houses have brilliant of analysts sitting on the other side, and they bring brilliant questions to discuss. So every year one has to make a business plan. I would recommend one should engage with a fund house, get oneself evaluated, and the next year business plan comes on the table. It is a strategic one.
Hmm.
Uh, Second is, of course, uh, I've been fortunate that I've always got a supportive fund investors.
You
Their
started
their mind,
recently,
yeah,
which helped you
right,
get
right.
it. Okay.
So they've been very very supportive in this journey. So uh, maybe we've attracted the right people, or we've gone to the right people. So that has been a important point. So, however, I hear a lot of situations and events where many people have challenges with the fund, with once they raise the funds, about difference of opinion on the strategies. So we hear all, we take the best call. We have to satisfy the other person in case the calls are not reconciling. Having said that, must complement the maturity these fund houses that we have engaged with have. We've not faced a very difficult situation with any of them so far.
Okay. I was a little curious about the fundraise at Mind. Services businesses tend not to do too much of fundraise, and you've got Amazon as one of the investors at Mind Solutions and India Mart. What was
No.
like?
So these are all the investors at M1xchange.
Ah, okay, okay,
Okay,
okay, okay,
not
okay.
not the services business.
Got it, got it. Okay, okay, okay. They were listed under Mind in that platform which I was referring to. Must be a listing error. Okay, understood. Yeah, obviously for M1 Exchange it makes sense
So
for.
M1xchange, the legal entity name is also starting with Mind.
Ah, okay, okay.
Okay, so there are two Mind entities. One is called Mind Integrated Solutions, and one is called Mind Solutions. Mind Solutions is the M1xchange, and Mind Integrated Solutions is the erstwhile business.
Okay. Okay. And for that erstwhile business, I guess you would not have needed to raise funds, right? Because
No, so for our Australian business in 2014, we had raised funds from Sydney. After that, we got raised funds.
Right, right, right. Okay, okay, okay. So let me end with this. Any advice to young people who are listening to this podcast?
Uh, so actually, I mean, India is right now at a cusp of, we are all aware of it, and multiple people are saying the same things, that India is at a cusp of the growth. And I mean, versus 20 years ago when we were doing this business, the kind of opportunities and the openness that was existing was very limited. So this is the time to actually be very, very eventful and innovative in the Indian market. The need is far and many. So the needs of the public, society, funding, everything is a lot of demand is there. So this is the time to be innovative in India. And if one is truthful to the work that you are doing and the objective that you've picked up, and to your fellow colleagues and to the people who are in your journey, whether it's an investor, whether it's a regulator, whether it's any other customer, if I have seen, if one is being transparent and truthful, things start flowing. I mean, your solutions start coming to you. One really doesn't. I mean, struggles happen, but when things start flowing to you, and the last point I would put is enjoy the challenges. Only then the next evolved growth will emerge, or next evolution of the growth curve will emerge. So keep enjoying those challenges. I mean, don't put them under the carpet, or don't postpone them. I mean, that's all. These are some of the points which one has practiced over the last 10 years, and they're working for us.
I would also add one more, that don't underestimate the power of naivety. If you were not naive enough to go and present to the RBI, none of this would have happened.
Yes, you're very right. I mean, I fully endorse this point.
All right, cool. Thank you so much for your time, Sundeep.
Thank you. Thanks, Akshay. Good to connect with you.